So yesterday I did the book back drive, and like I said before, I was sweating like crazy, sweating like mad. Woo wee! I'm sure I lost a pound or two or three or four or five. I lost some weight that day, and came home and I was like, I gotta take a shower. I was so wet. I mean, I wanted to go to the store real quick, you know, where I had did the book back drive, and I was like, as much sweat I had on me, I said I can't walk into the store sweating all over like that. I can't do it. I can't do it. Came on home and I was like, let me go ahead and take this shower. But I was like, wait a minute, I need to water the plants a little bit. Watered the plants, then I took a shower, and I'm telling you that, oh my gosh, that shower felt so good. You know, you're getting all your dirt off, you're releasing a little stress. It's an uplifting feeling to be clean after sweating like that. You know, I was on a good vibe. Later on that day, I started talking to my friend, and he's strong-willed, and I'm strong-willed. When it's certain things that we talk about, certain issues, you know, we feel strongly about it, and our voices fluctuate at times, and we plead our cases because that's just the way we are. That's the nature of how it is. But it got to a point where, you know, I was like, this needs to stop. Because the conversation starts off one way, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's just plain and simple. You're just chit-chatting. And then it just took a turn. And I decided, hey, I don't like the vibe of this conversation. I don't like the vibe, not per se of the conversation, but how we're reacting to each other, how we're getting upset, and it was a misunderstanding. Honestly, it was a misunderstanding, and then we're going back and forth trying to, you know, say, hey, this is what I meant, then this is what I meant, but all I did was say this. Well, all I did was say this, but I didn't like the vibe because not only that, it was when I go to bed at night, I like to have a relaxed mind. And we had been riding around. I'm like, you know what? I'm finna get out. I'm finna go in the house. And I'm just finna stop this. I don't like this vibe, you know? And I'm like, you know what? You have a blessed night. You have a blessed one, hon. Because I gotta go in there and get my mind right before I get into bed. And so, of course, you know, before I open the door and I say a few more words. And one thing we don't like to do is when we're in our little strong-willed conversation, we don't like the whole neighborhood to hear. And I think there was some neighbors out there on their porch. Well, that's what he said. He said, because when I got out, came in the house, he called, and I was like, he called? He's like, well, if you said you was done with the conversation, how come you opened the door and you kept talking? And one reason I kept talking was because he kept talking. You know how that go? You keep talking, I'm gonna keep talking. He was like, the neighbors is out there. I said, oh, which ones? Because I really didn't care, honestly. But I don't like to, you know, have folks be like, what's going on over there? Hey, what's going on over there? Because that's what I would do. When my neighbor, I'm going to tell you something. These young folks, when I say they got into it and she was so loud that it was heard 1, 2, 3, 4 houses over around the corner. And people was like, what the heck is going on? Now they hear it, they just didn't know what was going on. And I had been sitting in the garage chilling, and she was screaming out the top of her lungs, why? Why did you do that? See, I'm not all about that now. I can have some words with you, but I don't scream out the top of my lungs. And this neighborhood is quiet. So anytime that somebody says something, it's gonna carry. It's gonna carry, especially at night or when you don't hear cars or stuff like that. You're gonna hear it. But anyways, I'm like, hey, I never mean for neighbors to hear our conversations. It's never my intention. I never want to get so mad that I just disregard my neighbors. They could be asleep, they could be doing stuff. You don't want to cause unnecessary commotion in your neighborhood, you know. So when he calls me, then he starts back to talk about what we were talking about, and I'm like, didn't I say this was done? But you know what? I said it was done on my part. So as he's talking, I'm trying to stay calm, like, okay, because I'm trying to kind of listen and say, okay, you know, just let it go, let it go. And then all of a sudden, because he keeps going on in my eyes, you keep going on, and then I get loud. Not so loud, well, if you came to the door you would hear it, but I'm loud enough. And then I had to calm myself down again. I said, listen, like I said before, I like to go to bed on a good vibe. He's like, how you gonna go to bed on a good vibe? I'm gonna meditate. I'm gonna get my mind right one way or the other. Well, I'm in this conversation. You're gonna have a blessed night, and I will talk to you some other time. I didn't say tomorrow because I meant some other time. And when you find that you're not on the right vibe that you ought to be, you have to learn how to cut people off right then and there. Things that you're talking about, it can be revisited later with a calmer spirit. I had to, before I went to bed, I thought about other things, and I had to ask myself, maybe I was wrong in the way that I was seeing things. You try to justify, well, was he right? Was I right? Or is it about being right? People have their own opinion, and they're passionate about their opinions. So is it worth it? Was it worth it? I was having a great day, and then all of a sudden, just one little thing turned everything around, and it can't define my whole day, I thought. And I wouldn't let it. And I said to myself, anytime that I'm not feeling the way that I want to feel, before I go to bed and when I wake up, I want to be on a good vibe. Be on them good vibrations. Cut it off if you're not feeling right. Cut it off if it doesn't vibe with you. Don't be scared to. Then you have to, I'm still thinking about it, like, was it worth it? Was it worth it? How do I feel about the entire situation? What will I do to avoid that later on? Can I be more calmer? Just because somebody else is raising their voice, do you have to raise your voice? How do you calm down the situation? I gotta get better at sometimes my communication skills. Could I have listened more? Could I have just shook my head? And I have to learn the wisdom of when is a good time to challenge what somebody's saying, even though it's your honest opinion. Do you really want my honest opinion, or do you want somebody to just hear you out? And sometimes that's the case. Sometimes people are telling you things because they just want you to hear. I still got a lot of wisdom to learn. I'm still working on it. It's going to take some time. I had a goal. My goal was by the age of 45, I would be a wise person. There's a reason why in the movies you see an older person that's wise, because it takes time for that wisdom to build up. So when my gray hairs come in, I got a few already, but when I'm really gray hair and everything, y'all come see me, because I will definitely be a wise old woman, because I'm willing to learn.